Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this. Hey Ante, how you going?
Hey Jace, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Really looking forward to having a bit of a chat with you. This is a little bit of a reverse osmosis because you're the podcast man, and I get to get you on mine. So how are you feeling about being on the spotlight for a change?
A bit nervous, actually. It's weird being on the other end. It's me usually asking the questions.
Yeah, it's a funny situation to be in that space where you're naturally able to give a space. You do this really, really well. You make people feel really comfortable when you're asking questions. I remember I've been on two podcasts with you, and just you make people feel at home. So hopefully I can do that for you today and get you in a good place so we can start breaking down, where you've come from and what it is that you're passionate about, what really what roadblocks have gone in the way. Because one of the things that's really important to me is we have breakdowns all the time. And I know you've had a great story of breakdown and breakthrough. So can you just give us a little bit of a history of sort of what happened in your past and what you really wanted and how it sort of turned to shit?
Okay. So I remember I was working as a health coach, and I had an organic food business. And at this time, the food business was doing okay. The coaching wasn't doing well. And 4 separate people recommended I go see you over the space of 2 months. And so by the time I heard the first 2, I was like, oh yeah, I should book this in. By the third one, I was like, I'll book this in this month. And by the 4th one, I was like, pick up the phone right now. And basically my life was shit, to put it bluntly. When I came to see you that very first time, my business was not where I wanted it to be. It wasn't even close. And during this time as well, I had to work really hard jobs. So I closed the food business and I stopped coaching. And so what happened was I still needed to pay my mortgage. So I had to do bricklaying, physical labor jobs during the day. And in the evenings, I would Uber. And it was really, really demoralizing and really hard. Not because they're not nice jobs, but because I knew I had so much more to offer the world. And so it was like I was really undervaluing what was possible for me. My relationship at the time was okay. And I ended up moving to Brisbane because it felt like everything in Canberra was wrapping up. And so I moved to Brisbane, and this is probably where I hit the rock bottom. The stress of moving and not having a job for a month put a lot of tension on that relationship at the time, and it fell apart. And also I was working a job that was paying me peanuts. I had to catch a train every second week for an hour and a half one way, to a job I would hate. And so I'd had to work Saturdays as well to make a living. And I remember in Brisbane, I was driving over this bridge in Wynnum. I don't know if you're familiar with Brisbane. There's this big bridge.
No, I have absolutely no clue, but it's a massive bridge. I can do bridges, and I can see one in my mind.
It was a big bridge. And I remember the Saturday morning I was driving there and I was crying, bawling my eyes out, because I hated the life that I had created. I hated my job. I hated that the relationship had failed, and I didn't like me.
You also didn't like me either.
Oh yeah, I thought you were a prick.
Yeah, yeah. Which is cool. I'm okay with that.
It turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it's turned out a little bit different.
Yeah.
Quite often that's happened with me over the years. I call things out, and people that either don't like what they're hearing or they love the transition.
So I remember when I was in this rock bottom place that I spoke to my best friend Chris, who, he does work with you. And he said, you should reach out to Jace. He's starting this academy. And I was a bit hesitant. I remember I messaged you and we had a chat. And I said to you, why have I not created the life that I wanted? And you said to me, because you don't listen. That was the game changer flip. From that point onwards, when I joined the academy and started listening to you, life got better.
And so, what was it that changed? Like I got you to do some weird things. Can you? I got you to go and spend some time with someone at the mall one day, like at the shopping center. Can you? And what happened after that? This is what I love when I give left fielders.
So I had a sales job for everyone listening. And one of the things that you had suggested to me was the way to actually make more sales is to do something for someone with nothing in return. And that doesn't mean someone who you're selling to, it means a complete stranger, just by being a good person. And so you gave me this challenge of, if you're in a shopping mall, go help a random stranger. And so serendipitously, this old lady, probably like a month later, I was in a shopping center and she walked up to me and she was like, excuse me, do you know where the Bupa office is? And I said, no, I don't. And then I remember our chat and I said, but I can help you find it. And so I got on my phone and we looked for the office. We couldn't work out where it was. So I walked her to the concierge and then the concierge pointed it out and then I walked her to the Bupa office and she just thanked me and that was it. And as a result of that, I was it was a challenge to make my sales target that month. And it was like, then something out of the blue just came in and fell in my lap. And I don't believe it would have fallen in my lap if I hadn't been just a good person to someone who needed help.
Yeah, and it's really interesting when this happens. I throw a lot of left fielders at people to do things that are very, very different because integrity is actually what is the baseline around the academy work. And for people who don't fire in their world where they're really wanting to create a dream and make it big, if they've got a development or a spiritual context in the way that they do things, that you can't actually be an arsehole and create. And so the idea is actually getting people to do the right thing and then the world comes to them. And this is how spiritual development or development works. When things are not working, there are heaps of people who are, not nice people that actually get everything that they want. And then we quite often can learn from those people and say, well, how come that person gets stuff and I don't? And sometimes we learn from the wrong people how to actually build something, because my idea around building is psychological. You have to build your psychological game right and do the right thing, and then the world starts becoming your oyster. So tell us about what started happening for your sales job and what was happening for you in general after we started sort of working together and sort of having those sort of ethics and those sorts of talks.
So I took this sales job having no sales experience, but I took a sales job because I knew I needed to learn how to sell to be able to sell my big vision and my dream to an investor, which was this primal move facility, which we can talk about later. But so I took this job for a smoke alarm company, had no experience. And in 9 months, I became the top of the country, the top of the organization, and was making my sales target and exceeding them every month. This was due to something that you pointed out, which was I needed to make the internal changes first, not focus on the external. And that sort of speaks to this, what you were talking about with the spirituality and being of service, not focusing on yourself, which is where I fell before I met you. It was all about me.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, the coolest thing about working with you, Ante, is the honesty about the things that you were not doing right. So, and you weren't like that when I first met you. You were quite immature, to be honest. And now you're in that space where you actually take on board information. And even if it's hard, you take it on and say, okay, it's time to change this. There's a really different flip in the person that you are. And that's what I've noticed. And now people are chasing you. It's a very, very different ball game, isn't it?
It's really interesting that when you don't need someone to fill up your bucket, then it comes. Whether that's in a relationship or in a business relationship, because every day I'm selling something to someone, and sales has typically been, what can I get from you? Not what can I give you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big difference, isn't it?
Huge
and
difference.
As a receiver for sales, you're constantly thinking, what do they want? What are they after? And I do this every time I have a chat with someone to join the academy. It's like, what can I give to make sure that if they don't choose to want to work with us, then they're going to be able to walk away from that chat, that they're going to get the value and the tripwire and the change that they can have. Because some people, there's just not the right fit, and it's giving value that makes a big difference, isn't it?
100%. And no one teaches this. Like, this had never come onto my radar until you had taught me this. And it's critical for people that actually have to focus on others. Like, some people, like you've told me, you have to focus on others. You can't be a selfish person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's basically humanitarian based leadership is basically what it's about. It means there's a flip side to this, is that if you do it too much and you're not putting yourself in the game plan, then you can gash yourself out and get really burnt out, right? When you were naturally selfish when I first met you, so I knew that you wouldn't burn yourself out because you already were looking after yourself. So the moment we implemented the let's run humanitarian based leadership, you just went, okay, I'm involved in this. So every time that you help people, you don't ever get tired, do you?
No. And I realize when I'm not reaching my targets, it's because I'm thinking too much about myself. So it's like it's the mirror,
Yeah, it comes along. So tell us about what's really changed in your world now. Like, you're a dreamer. And we've chatted about, you being up in the sky with this massive vision. And I really have wanted to back that vision. I knew that I had to get you ready psychologically to actually plant that vision on the ground. What's it like now having, pitching your vision to the government, and tell us about what your vision is and what you're doing now, and knowing that it's an inevitability now. It feels like it's going to get over the line. So what does it feel like when the daydream's starting to turn into bricks and mortar?
So for 5 years, I had this vision of this Primal Move wellness facility that was completely holistic, like mind, body, spirituality, community, nutrition, everything tied into one hub. And so for 5 years, I held this dream inside of me, and I actually gave up on the dream when I went to Brisbane. Like, I gave up, and then by fate, I got lucky, or I kept pursuing, and I took the sales job as I told in the story, and then I got the opportunity to pitch two different people, and I remember this one in particular was probably October last year. And I did a Zoom call with them because I'm in Queensland and they were in Canberra. And they're in a boardroom. There's three of them. And I'm conveying this dream to them and the why. And I actually recorded this meeting. um, and when it finished, they said to me, "You're onto a winner." And when I finished the meeting, I sat down on the couch, looked at my girlfriend, and I just started crying. Crying and crying and crying for probably like 10, 15 minutes because it was like this recognition of like, I did it. I did it. And so that then led to having chats with the ACT government and now coordinating how do we make a win-win so the ACT government gets a win and we get a win to build something truly amazing for the community, but also a representation of what this is for the world. Like this would then impact every community, could be in every major city. That would totally transform the way food is grown, the way the community interacts, health, well-being. There's so much that what this building represents that's beyond me.
Yeah,
That would transform the world. Yeah.
exactly. And look, I know one of the things that I spoke about in the academy is leaving a legacy for when you pass, right? And I spoke about the redwood forest in America, where this guy, he wanted to save the redwood forest because it was just being chopped down. There's 1% of the redwood forest that exists in America now, simply because it was just getting shaved. And this guy saved this part in Oregon for the people that he was going to leave behind. And that's what this is all about. And this is what humanitarian-based leadership is about. It's like when you have a dream and you're not making it about yourself, you're making it about what is possible for everyone involved. And this is a massive dream, because when I started hearing about, what you wanted to do and how you wanted to do it, all I thought about was the thousands upon thousands of people that would benefit of this journey that you want to take to help improve people's lives. Because right now we're in a space where division and separation is normal. And it's so uncertain right now about what's going to be. And we really need community. We really need touch. And we're missing that right now. And it's really, really difficult for so many people. The suicide rates are up. There's domestic violence is up. There's so much stuff happening that people don't really know unless you really look at what's happening behind the scenes with COVID and all this stuff that's been going on in the world lately. We have to actually start making something that people are actually going to be looking forward to, something that people can go to, that can think, wow, I have somewhere to go where I feel like I fit. And I have somewhere to go where I can actually learn health rather than try to fix it with a pill, to actually prevent it before it occurs. And this is what this was all about, is being able to have something that holds a structure to it, that's locked down in bricks and mortar, and says, come here so you can actually learn to grow, to better yourself, and think about the common person that is in that building around you. Because look, if we don't start doing this, we are going to get more and more spliced. Because right now, you and I are talking on tech, right? And this is the beauty of tech. We can be anywhere in the world. Nothing beats human touch, though. Nothing. And we need it more than ever. And this vision is, it's not a pipe dream. It's an essential reality that we all need. And this is on video, so I'm going to make sure that your building is tagged on this. Like, it is ridiculously amazing, like how you got everything together. I've never seen anything like it, because it builds sacred geometry in it, which is my bag. So when you
Yeah.
actually showed me that, I was just like, oh yeah, baby. It's got figure of eight, infinity symbol. It's like, come on, guys, let's build health, wellness, connection, love, support, and care for the rest of humanity's life. That's what I saw around your building. I saw so much more than the building itself. So tell me what you're thinking about right now.
So when I designed this building, and I'll give you an idea, I went to 3 architects in Australia, and none of them would design what I wanted because it wasn't site specific. So what I did was got on Upwork and found a student in Bulgaria,
Yeah, baby. That
a
is
Bulgarian student who was like, wasn't in the system, was like, yeah, this sounds awesome. I'll design this. And so then we designed this building that's in a figure eight. And the figure eight is 2 things. It's also the vesica piscis, which is the 2 circles that overlap that you've taught us. Is
yes.
it behind you? No, it's not on one of the artworks on this one.
Yeah, it is behind me. That one.
Yeah, there you go. It's that.
There
So
it is.
2 circles, and the 2 circles represent the masculine and the feminine. When you look at buildings in our world, it's all vertical, which is really masculine. The masculine's pushing out. Where's the feminine of a building? And so the building represents the core philosophy of what it's meant to do, which is balance between the male and the female.
Yeah.
So in exercise, people think that, muscles grow when you exercise. It's when you rest. That's when muscles grow, but you need the
That's the
stimulus of
feminine,
exercise.
right? Feminine
That's
is the
right.
rest.
Exactly. Or, with your emotions, what you've taught, acknowledge, accept, and honor. So the building was to be a representation of the philosophy of what will be taught in this place across the board. And so it's in this figure eight. It has this beautiful rooftop garden that creates community. And it's almost like the Apple. Have you seen the new Apple building?
No, I haven't.
It was based off that. So
That's cool.
it's, it's pretty spectacular. It'll be iconic.
And
Yeah.
that's what creates something different, right? If you create something that is a sheep building, then no one's going to look at it and say, I want to invest. But it needs to be a unicorn. It needs to be something that people look and go, oh my God. And this is what I love about Canberra. I mean, a lot of people bag my hometown out. It's got a way of something. It's all built on sacred geometry, by the way. The whole place. Burley Griffin was a sacred geometry nut. He put everything in alignment. And to have something like this, which is a sacred geometry building, basically, which has the definition of unification, support, and understanding around bringing the masculine and feminine within us together and people together, to stop fighting between who's right and who's wrong, to remove this idea of race and inequality and all of these sorts of things, to break down barriers that we've had for thousands of years around who's right and who's wrong, to actually think about, well, what's more important? Connection, community, letting go of skin color, letting go of all of these ideas that are right and wrong, and finding a way that is going to balance us out. And that when you create a building that's actually based on balance, it's an unstoppable force within itself, because that's what metaphysical work does. It changes the structure of who you are just by being in it.
And I was going to add one thing with what you said. People want the same things fundamentally.
Yeah,
While you might differ, you might differ on the way to get there. We all want health. We all want to be happy. We all want love. So why don't we just direct our energy and our attention towards those things? And then we'll get them collectively and individually.
That's right. And that's why when you think about, for you guys who are listening, anything that you're saying on the outside is wrong, it's great to have an opinion. the thing is, what is right is we all have a different way of getting to the same result. And until we start actually accepting other people's opinions, we're not going to get anywhere. And this is what this building is representative of. And to give people a chance to say everyone's welcome, as long as we're allowing differences to be okay. I think this is really, really important. And, you know, the buildings, this first building is going to be in the ACT in Australia, in a place where decisions are made, in a place where we need to start thinking about decisions that are going to be helpful for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be in the ACT. We're going to probably put it in 2 locations. It's either going to go in the CBD or it's going to go out on the Western Basin. We've still got to like coordinate a few things with the government, but yeah, it's really exciting. It's really exciting to do something that no one's ever done before that will really like change the course.
So, Ante, I just want to, I know we're talking about something really, really special that's about the people here. I just want to bring it back to you right now for a moment. I just want to ask you, from being broke and hating your life and really probably hating yourself, having a shit relationship and having things completely fall apart, to having now where your dream is starting to become reality, you're starting to fulfill who you are. You've got big big shoes that you're filling instead of small boy sneakers. You're in a very, very different place. When you reflect back, what does it feel like reflecting back on that old self? Can you do that for me right now? Just reflect back on your old self and then just come back into now and see the absolute, from how your old way was, how you thought, how your new way is, and how you are now. What is that massive difference feeling like to you in this moment?
It feels like one was with a closed heart, scared of himself and scared of the world, and the other one lives with an open heart and he's good inside of himself. So if he's good inside of himself, he doesn't have to be anything for anyone else. He can just walk his purpose, his path, and just offer it like a gift. Like, this is what I can offer you. Versus the first one was like desperate, needy, closed, scared, like a child. Yeah.
So what it sounds like you've transitioned, you tell me if I'm wrong, is it sounds like you've turned into a person who matters so much to himself without really mattering about what the world needs from him. You're actually doing a job with no choice. It's like you're in a place now where you actually are more restricted in your choices simply because you know the more that you restrict and you follow your path, the more that the doorways and many doors will open. And I'm talking about this from what I'm seeing because I'm a visionary person. I'm a big picture person like yourself. I'm looking at doors and saying, okay, there's going to be a whole bunch of doors to this building, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of doors being opened in other cities, and looking at this as like a footprint for the way in which community can be done, and putting this footprint and imagining, Australian people are notorious for thinking small, notorious for it. Imagine this being a footprint for every other country to follow. Because I'm looking at this from a big picture, and that's the energy that I'm seeing you're thinking about now. And it's not about you, but it's knowing that you've got big shoes and huge amount of responsibility to feel now. And what does that feel like, having that big layer of responsibility in a different way? Not like I've got a building on my shoulders, but a level of responsibility to uphold the integrity of what this stands for.
It really depends on the day. On some days, it's like exciting. On other days, it's full anxiety. And when it's anxiety, I realize I'm just making it about me. And when I take that away, then I'm free to be open and focus on why is it really here? Like, and when I do that, life is so much smoother for me. And so then it doesn't feel like I'm carrying a burden. It feels like I'm creating something for everyone else to enjoy. Generations after me. This is for 2 generations after me. So we have healthy children that can have healthy thoughts to create healthy communities and a healthy government and then a healthy world. When it's that, it becomes like a labor of love.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that all you guys who have a dream or want to make a contribution, it doesn't have to be this big. Like it could be you just want to have the right relationship with a partner. It doesn't matter what it is. It's looking at um, what you need to be and how you need to become to actually build uh, the dream that and turn it into a reality. Because I think impatience is one of the biggest issues that I've had to sort of break you down with, is letting the game open itself up. And patience is not a stopping valve, by the way. It's actually a fast mover. So people don't understand patience. It actually, the moment you're patient and let go, everything moves like a hurricane. And the idea around this is looking at our hopes and dreams and never ever leaving them in the back corner, which you could have done, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, like it would be so much easier and safer to play small, to stay in my comfortable, 6-figure job, and it would also be completely unfulfilling because just you're supposed to do more. Like everyone's capable of more than what they think. They really are.
That's right. And look, talking about that, we're supposed to be more. And when you're doing development, it's all based on, in my opinion, just my opinion, it's all based on contribution, right? And when we've got it in the right lane, then the lane doesn't turn into just one lane. It's a highway with 5 or 6 lanes, right? And it's trying to figure out how to make sure that we can follow the pathway, stay on the road, and not get sidetracked and go down the side alley and get stuck in an area where you can't move. And we all do that, don't we, Ante? Like we go sometimes. I'm sure you do this as well. Sometimes when I'm creating my academy, which I want to be the number one uh, personal development organization in the world, that's my goal. When I'm looking at that, sometimes I just want to crawl up in a ball and hide in my room and have the covers over me and say, I shouldn't have actually looked so big. I shouldn't have even tried to even go there. And I had that actually this week. I was just like, I'd just love to buy an ice cream shop in Maribula, and there's one for sale, by the way. And I constantly think, maybe if I can go and buy that place, I can not chase that dream. And then there's this other part that says, well, what about my kids? What about what they need to see me embody and model is that life can become unlimited. If I don't chase my dreams, if I don't, and my dream's big, and if I get halfway, I'm going to be really, really proud of myself. The thing is, you've got to think, what is it going to be for everyone else, including you? And then you never know how far you're going to get, right, Ante?
100%. If you focus on that, I think you can't go wrong. And there was one thing else that I thought when you were speaking, that sometimes when you think you're off the path, you're on the path. You're just being impatient. So looking back now, all those jobs that I did that sucked and I hated, they actually served really important purposes to get to where I am now. Not necessarily because of the skill set, but because of who they made me become.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that, because look, when we have a roadblock, when we have a wall, when we have a car accident metaphor live, those experiences are the things that make us. So I've had so many people say to me, oh, I can't afford the academy because I don't have enough money. And then someone who's joined the academy, I don't have enough money, I'll find a way. And there's two types of people that do that. And the ones that have, broken based lives and they're really struggling, those ones that do that, when they move the needle and get somewhere else, the massive amount of appreciation and the ability to help other people get out of that lane is massive too, because it's the people who are willing to step up and move when it feels like life has crushed them is what creates a story of hope. It creates a story of opportunity. It creates a story that says, well, maybe, just maybe I can do it too.
I remember when I was doing these jobs and you said to me, document everything. Document everything you do. Take the photos, do all of it, because one day it's going to be so important for other people. And at the time I was like, I remember I was like, what are you talking about? Document how much I hate my life?
Yeah, because look, I'm a visionary. I knew you were going to get out of it if you persisted. And documenting your pain.
Yeah.
Like has pain. And so the moment you document pain, you actually are analyzing it, looking at it, you're getting pissed off with yourself. You realize consciously you don't really want to be in it, that you're in that shit. And then there's a way out. If you just take the right advice, if you organize yourself and follow through, then that documentation is actually what allows other people to know that they might be able to do it too.
It's very different when you can show someone the photo of the moment you wanted to just leave, or you're totally distraught and you can see it in the eyes, versus saying to someone, having those photos now, when I look back on them, it makes me really grateful for those experiences, because those created humility for me. Yeah. And I'll always be able to go back, remember the guy who was moving barrels of cement up hills and being abused and yelled at. Remember that guy? That guy helps me stay in check with the success that comes from Primal Move.
Yeah, and that's a big deal, because people forget. A lot of people who get the success, they forget that guy. And they say, well, I'm this guy now, and don't hang around with guys like that. Whereas that's the worst thing you can do, because there could be a guy like you and you just walk past, and this pisses me off more than anything. A lot of people say just hang around the right people, because then you'll grow. But what about the person like an Ante who needs Ante's help, who goes, oh no, I've just been told by the leaders to go and hang out with the big people because they're the only people who are worth your time now. And then that Ante that you were misses the opportunity to get the Ante that you are now. And this is what pisses me off more than anything around leadership, about advice, because we need to be thinking that down that street, I said to someone today, there was a beautiful lady last night who does karate. I do karate. I'm shit at it. I'm working towards being good at it. And there's this amazing lady. She's really, really little. She looked like she was about 14. She's 20. And I saw her and I said, you're a leader. Think high and think big. And she's like, oh, okay. Thanks. Didn't know what to do with me. Never spoken to me. I said, you are something else, and chase for the stars. And so sometimes you just provide that little bit of something. And a lot of people who are successful, they go, oh, you're a little person. You're not worth talking to. And that's not what this building is all about. It's a building that says, let's make everything and everyone worth talking to, no matter what walk of life you're in. So then everyone gets a chance to improve.
Exactly. When you were talking, I thought of something. I did a session with someone in the academy, and I realized in this session that his primal move was just to stay alive. And so I was judging other people because they weren't thinking as big, because I was obnoxious and lacked awareness. But for someone, just staying alive is a huge jump. And in that moment, I learned more than from any fucking, sorry, I can't swear, any top level business coach, success person. That person taught me something that's totally invaluable. And it's that no matter if you're big, small, successful, unsuccessful, everyone's on their own journey and you can learn something from everyone.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I want to wrap up with something right now for you. Like, if there's one piece of advice that I've given you, or that someone's given you, or that you've given yourself, what piece would you give to someone who wants to chase their dream and they're feeling like a woolly mammoth in the ice and they can't move and they feel like they're not good enough, they're not capable, and why them? What piece of advice would you give them now? Like, what would you tell them? Like,
Do the Wellness Breakthrough Academy.
no, come on. That's a great thing for me, but something else, something more inspiring than the academy. I know it is. I know it's changed so many people's lives, but what's something else that you could say? Hey, I'm stuck here. What would you say?
Let me have a think. What would I say to them? You need to make the internal changes.
Yeah,
It's the inside that needs to change. And then the external, the outside will reflect what's going on in here.
yeah. I knew you had something magical for everyone to hear, because I think that's imperative. And guys, I just want to let you know, and Ante knows this as well, that internal changes are a lifetime. You don't just get the winning ticket and then you've got the lotto. It's constant internal changes. So the big mistake that people who gain confidence, and you have a lot of confidence now, don't you? But
Yeah.
I said this to you about 3 or 4 months ago. If you get overconfident, the day you stop listening to someone who has given you advice, like myself, will be the day you stop growing. And it's really important that we need to learn to take advice from people, not just me, just people, and get your ear, keep your ear open, because confidence can burn into overconfidence, could turn into arrogance. And the moment you are that, you become a non-growing specimen, right? And I'm really adamant on making sure that every person that joins the academy, or every person that comes along my way, does what I do, listens intently to the gifts of life from anyone who crosses your path. And I think doing those internal changes, would you agree now, knowing sometimes the bombs I throw you, that you've been thrown even in the last week or two, to build bigger, that you know it's an ever evolving door. It's not something that you just walk in and you've got your ticket.
It's like a spiral. I think you told me once it's like a spiral.
Yeah.
And like, it's the season comes around again. It just keeps going up and up and up. And it might be the same lesson, but in a different area of life.
100%. Now, Ante, got a question for you. How did we go? Did I make you feel comfortable? Was this okay? You didn't look nervous to me at all. You looked like you were enjoying this conversation and being on the other end of the spectrum.
Worst podcast ever. Like, I hated every moment of it. I felt so nervous. No, it was great.
Yeah,
it did really well.
Look, for anyone who wants to find out about Ante, what's your podcast, by the way? Can you let us know?
The Primal Move podcast. So that's PRIMAL podcast. And we've done 2 episodes with you and 1 episode with Anya and a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah, so look, we'll post this. We also have this as a video as well. So we have Wellness Breakthrough Academy podcast.com. So if you want to actually look at this guy's ugly mug and my ugly mug having a chat, you can do that as well. I'll post some links down around Prime Move where you can find Ante. Ante is going to be doing lots of speaking gigs around the world. He's also runs sales courses as well to get people to be really comfortable with their sales gig and with the philosophies that he's learned from the academy and the amazing ability he has now to sell anything. He could sell sand to the desert people now because he believes so much value in himself. And so thank you so much, Ante. And if you like this podcast, comment, like, and review it. It would be great for other people to get some inspiration around what it is to go from disaster to brilliance, and know that you can do it too.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciated being on the other end, and it's always great to chat with you.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Love you, mate. See ya.
See ya.